One of my pastimes or hobbies is community theater. I like to act, to be on a stage, take a script or a story that someone has written and tell that story as a character, as a narrator. And I get a lot of enjoyment out of that, not just the actual act of doing it, probably more so out of the process of getting to that point. As an actor, you get an opportunity to read scripts when someone's looking for people to put on a production. And there's certain times when a script or a story or a character just nails you and you say, I've got to be in that, and you audition and you do your best to get the part. Now, if you're fortunate enough to get it, then the work begins. And it's not really just a question of memorizing. It's a lot of work sometimes, but really the joy and the excitement in it isn't from the memorizing. It's from the research. What was happening at that time or in that character? What is a character going through? Who are they? Who are these people they are relating to? What exactly is the story in the situation? Where are the emotional complexities and nuances in the story that you need to tell? And there's a lot of study in that. And some of it I get is just rereading and reading a lot, those lines over and over again, not to memorize them so much, but to try a different way to interpret them, to see what they mean, to test drive them, different emphasis on different things, faster, slower, different voice, with a different emotion or different kind of motivation, all that trying to capture the essence of what the playwright envisioned for the character, or maybe find something new and take it further is even better sometimes. And the reason I bring that up is because I was reminded of that recently when I was reading a piece of Old Testament, 1 Samuel 3:19. It's just an obscure verse, and it goes like this, 1 Samuel 3:19. And the Lord let none of Samuel's words fall to the ground. That's an odd turn of phrase. And as someone who reads a lot and tries to get the meaning out of something so they can relate it, this struck me. I thought, that's a very particular turn of phrase. I looked to other translations in the Bible, probably 6 or 8 of them, and they all had almost exactly the same words. Now, the commentators, when I look further, suggest that this is an idiom or a particular phrase in the language of the day that meant something very particular, that everyone at the time would know what that meant, in the original language, of course. And what they speculate is that when something falls to the ground, it is made useless. Say in the case of you're carrying water and you spill it, it's gone. You can't put it back in the pot. You've got to go back to the well and get more water. Or worse, you spill it, break the pot, and now you can't even get any water. Or maybe it's in a church or a temple setting where they drop the sacrifice onto the ground, and suddenly that piece of sacrifice that was to be a holy offering to God is now dirty. It's unworthy. They also talk about this idea that something falling to the ground would be even like an arrow, shooting an arrow at a target or an enemy and having it fall short before it got there. The arrow is wasted and your enemy is still coming at you. So this notion that your words, that Samuel's words weren't going to fall to the ground because of God, was a big deal. And we can see that in Samuel's life. First of all, let's go back a bit. Samuel, if you don't recall, he's a big-time Old Testament prophet, guided the Israelites through many of their trials and tribulations for over 40 years. Now, he's the fellow, if you remember from your Sunday school days, his mother tried to conceive for decades, finally conceived him, gave birth to him, weaned him, and then, as an offering to God of thanks and grace, she gave him to the temple, to the priest Eli, to raise him as a servant of God. And powerful, like who could ever do that? But this is how much she was blessed by finally having her wishes and dreams come true. And so Eli raised the boy. Now, as he was a boy, the story goes from your Sunday school class, is that he was sleeping, the boy was sleeping, and he heard someone call his name. So he got up and he went to Eli, and he said, "Yes, Eli." And Eli said, "Nothing, I wasn't me talking to you. You must be dreaming. Go back to sleep." This happened 3 times in a row. Finally, Eli figured out that it must be God speaking to the boy. And then this verse, 1 Samuel 3:19, comes just after that. And it prefaces the rest of the ministry of 40 years of Samuel as a prophet. And he, the Lord, let none of Samuel's words fall to the ground. Samuel was a big-time prophet. He was open to the Spirit. He listened for God's word, and God spoke to him, and he spoke to the people and guided them for decades. And this made me think, what do I do when I read the Bible, when I interact with people at work, or when I'm helping friends in a challenge, or when I myself am challenged by a situation, what do I do? Do I let things fall to the ground in what I do? And I was reminded back to the script, the acting scenario. Do I put as much effort into that situation or that thing that I'm in to work through, so that my efforts, my words in working through it and resolving things or in helping someone don't fall to the ground? Caused me a lot of thought. I hope it does for you too. 1 Samuel 3:19.